Chapter 3. Manuel kept his promise. After school was over, he ran home as quickly as he could. His mum wasn't there, of course. She was working all day long. Manuel's lunch was in the fridge. As soon as he had warmed it up in the microwave oven, he wolfed it down. He didn't waste a second to think of his homework. As soon as he was done eating, he dashed out the door, and only 5 minutes later he was down in the park. Luka sat under the big tree. He nibbled on a blade of grass just as he had done in the morning. When he heard the sound of running feet, his ears shot up in alarm, but it was only Manuel. Here I am, the boy panted and slumped himself down in the grass beside Luka. Yes, here you are, Luka replied, sitting up and rubbing his nose. I wasn't sure whether you'd really come. Well, I promised, didn't I? Asked Manuel. After Manuel had finally caught his breath, the two of them started to think of things they could do together. Would you like to see where I live? Asked Luka. Sure, replied Manuel. Okay, then I'll show you our burrow. How about a little race? It's not very far, though. Nah, that wouldn't be fair, Manuel said and shook his head, comparing his long human legs with the fragile legs of the rabbit. You wouldn't stand a snowball's chance in hell. We'll see about that, Luka replied boldly. So, how is it? Have you recovered? Manuel nodded. Well, fine by me. Ready, set, go! Commanded Luka and was whoosh already zooming off. Manuel began to run too. In PE class he was one of the best runners, but now he didn't stand a chance. When Manuel reached the hill where Luka's burrow was situated, the rabbit was already sitting there comfortably and was waiting for the boy. Manuel came to a halt and pressed his arms into his sides. Holy moly, he wheezed. How on Mother Earth can you run that fast with these short legs? We, the rabbits, have learned to be swift if it's needed, Luka replied impishly. If the fox is after you, you'll have to run like the storm, or he invites you to dinner. After the two of them had rested for a short while, Luka led the boy cautiously uphill. Halfway up, a small thicket began to spread. You have to be really quiet now, Luka whispered. My mom is not very fond of humans. Okay, Manuel whispered back and laid down flat on his stomach. So, where is your house? Your burrow. Do you see those stones over there, between the trees? Asked Luka. Manuel nodded. And do you see the hole underneath the stone, the left stone? That's the entrance. Yeah, I can see it, said Manuel, completely forgetting that he was supposed to whisper. Shush, hissed Luka. The wind blows so that my mom can't smell us, but if you keep yelling like this, she'll get a stroke. Sorry, forgot, Manuel replied sheepishly. Exactly at that moment, 2 ears appeared at the entrance of the burrow, followed by a brown head with big black eyes and a black nose. That's my mom, Luka whispered. Do you reckon she heard me? Manuel asked back in nothing more than a whisper too. Don't know, but we should get out of here anyhow. The wind is turning. Follow me. As quietly as possible, Manuel crawled backwards down the hill on his stomach. When they were out of hearing and smelling range, they walked a short way through the park until they reached the little pond. In the meantime, the sun was shining powerfully down from the blue early summer sky. When they had found a neat spot, Manuel slumped himself into the grass with a sigh, and then he took off his sweatshirt. Luka stared at him in a fright. What are you doing there? He asked, totally stunned. I'm sweating like a madman from the stupid dash, Manuel groaned. And that's why you're tearing your fur off? Luka asked in the same tone as before. Manuel needed a short moment before he got the point. But that's no fur, he said, grinning, waving his sweatshirt around in the air. Humans don't have fur. We put on clothes so we don't get cold if the weather's chilly, and if it gets too warm, then we take off what's too much." And with these words, Manuel lay down, rolling his sweatshirts up into a bundle and using it as a cushion, while he let the sun shine on his pale, flat belly. Luka sniffed at the cloth underneath the head of the boy. Then he shook his head. "You humans are funny folk," he said, baffled. Manuel and Luka spent the whole afternoon together. They were playing hide-and-seek and tag. Luka showed Manuel which plants were the yummiest for him, and they compared the names that rabbits and humans had for every one of those plants. And of course, they were talking about 1,000 things that kids usually talk about, no matter if they were human kids or rabbit kids. Finally, the sun started to set, and both of them had to set off on their way home. At the foot of the hill where Luka's barrow was in, they parted ways. "Will you come back tomorrow?" asked Luka. "Sure," Manuel promised. "Okay then. See you tomorrow," said Luka and hobbled up the hill. Manuel ran in the opposite direction. Then he turned around once more. "Ciao, Luka," he hollered. "See you tomorrow." Luka halted, looked down the hill, and saw Manuel, pretty far away and looking pretty small, standing there and waving. Manuel, the human boy, his first real friend.